All right. Hey, Conceptual Chemistry. Sorry, I am not going to be here today, but make sure you take out these notes. You will find them in your folder. You should find them in the manila folder. They say chemical reactions and chemical equations, and on the first page it looks like it has this whole reactants and products. So make sure you find that in your folder, take it out, because we're about to flip to a page in which we write down some notes. Now, if you do not have this, there should be a couple of more copies in the front of the room. There will be. There'll be copies that are already answered, except for the page that we need to get to. So, either make sure you take this out from your folder, or get a new copy, and if neither of those are working, just copy everything down in your notebook. All right, so now we're gonna flip. This is the back of the first page. This is the second page. Back of the second page. We are gonna skip the third page. We're gonna skip all of this, leave it blank, don't worry. And I want you to get to the page where at the very top, it says writing and balancing chemical equations. All right, so at the very top, it says writing and balancing chemical equations. Sometimes chemical equations can be expressed using words. And if you could have guessed it, we call that a word equation. So write that in that blank. And what I'm going to be asking you to do now is not only balance chemical reactions, you're going to have to write the word equation or write the chemical equation from the word equation. To write a chemical equation using formulas and symbols, you'd have to convert the words into their formulas. If we only learn how to do that, guess what? We did use ionic and molecular nomenclature. Now remember, for ionic compounds, I'll have metal, nonmetal, or even polyatomic ion. For molecular, I'll have two nonmetals. Okay? And so now we're going to do an example of what I expect you to be able to do from writing a word equation to a chemical equation to balancing it. So, example 1. Write the chemical equation using formulas to write the balanced chemical reaction that occurs when solid sodium oxide is added to water at room temperature and forms the aqueous product sodium hydroxide. Okay? Now, there are some things about states that I'm going to circle. Water, you should know what water is, a liquid. And I'm going to circle form the aqueous product sodium hydroxide. All right, so the states are going to be important and the names are going to be important. So now, step 1, identify the names of elements or compounds present. So we have sodium oxide, we have water, and it gives you sodium hydroxide. And it says use the periodic table and useful information for naming ionic and covalent compounds, or we also call those molecular compounds, to help you identify the formulas and charges of common ions. Follow the ionic and molecular nomenclature to write the formulas. And don't forget, nomenclature is a system of naming, so it's how we name things. And we just took a unit test on how to name things, so don't forget how to do that. So sodium oxide now, I'm going to kind of split it between 1 and 2. Sodium is Na, and if I look on the periodic table, Na is over here in group 1. It has a charge of +1, so I'm going to write that there. And then oxide means oxygen. So I'm going to write O, and oxygen forms -2 charges. So -2. And we could do that very easy crisscross method to write that the formula of sodium oxide is Na2O. Okay? Then water. hopefully all of us know that water by now is H2O. And then here is the difficult part, and we're going to have to remember this, but sodium, again, is Na+, and hydroxide, does anybody remember what hydroxide would be? It's not an element. It's more than one atoms that form an ion, or more than one atoms that form a charge. This is a polyatomic ion. So hydroxide would be OH minus 1. All right? And hydroxide is a polyatomic ion that stays together. And if I needed more than one of it, do you remember what I put around them? Parentheses. So if I needed more than one hydroxide in a compound, I would need to put parentheses. But if I do the crisscross method, it looks like I only need one of each of the hydroxide and the sodium. So I'm going to write NaOH. Okay? And then it says, write the unbalanced chemical equation. I'm going to pretty much bring this down, but I circled in here some states for these compounds. Don't forget that if I say solid, I do S in parentheses. If it's liquid, I like to do this cursive L in parentheses. Cursive means script. If it's gas, I do G in parentheses. And if it's aqueous, we do AQ in parentheses. All right, so solid, liquid, gas, aqueous. Now it says solid sodium oxide. Sodium oxide. So I'm going to do Na2O, solid, plus water is a liquid. So H2O liquid. We should know that water, room temperature, or it says at room temperature, should be liquid. And then sodium hydroxide, in the problem it said it was aqueous. So NaOH. All right, so that's the unbalanced chemical equation. And now let's go about and try to solve this unbalanced chemical equation by trying to balance it. So let's do what we've been normally doing. Follow the steps for balancing a chemical equation to balance a chemical reaction. So if I wanted to say, let's say sodium is a small shaded circle, that's Na. Oxygen is a big unshaded circle. And I'll make H a square. Okay, so that's equal to H. So Na2O has two of these shaded circles and one of these unshaded circles. So O and then Na2O. Kind of looks like water. Here's Na2O. Then water, I'm going to have big circle but with two squares. Okay? So Na2O and H2O. And I get sodium hydroxide. So I'm going to need Na, which is shaded, O, which is a big circle, and then a square. All right, now I have to recognize what do I not have enough on both sides. For me, something that sticks out when I'm trying to balance this is it looks like I have two shaded circles on this side, which is two NAs, and I only have one shaded circle, which is one NA on the right side. So in order for me to balance this, which side does not have enough? This has two NAs or two shaded circles. This has one NA or one shaded circle. So I'm going to need to add more to this right side. Now, how do I add Na on the right side? Do I just add it as a single atom? Right? That's what I do? No. If I want to add Na is attached to this OH. So if I want to add another Na, I have to add NaOH. Now I have two NaOHs. Okay? And let me see if there's anything else that's not balanced in this chemical reaction. So I have my two shaded. I have two big circles. Two big circles. That's good. And I have two squares. Guess what? This is balanced. And so now I want to write the balanced chemical equation and use stoichiometric use the coefficients that go in front. So it looks like I only need one Na2O. I need one H2O. And I make 2 NaOHs. So I put a big 2 in front of these to show me that I made 2 NaOHs. And this is a balanced chemical equation. And to double check, it looks like on this left side I have 2 Nas, 2 Os, 2 H's. On the right side I have 2 Nas, because the 2 goes in front, 2 O's, and 2 H's. Balanced. Okay? Now at the very bottom here, I'm going to get you started, but I want you to finish this on your own. It says, write the balanced chemical equation when solid calcium reacts with solid sulfur to produce, or to make a product, this should say produce, sorry, to produce solid calcium sulfide. So I'm going to circle everything as solid. Looks like the only state I have is solid. I could get us started. Calcium solid is CaS. No charges, no nothing. Element by itself, no charges. Solid sulfur. Have to be careful, and I'm telling you this, but sulfur, if I want to write sulfur by itself, sulfur does not exist alone by itself. And you may have seen this somewhere in a practice set, or you will see this in your next practice set, but sulfur actually exists as S8. So S8 solid. And I'm going to give you that somewhere, that sulfur exists as S8. Okay? And it produces solid calcium sulfide. Now, I need to look up the charges of these ions and then do the crisscross method. I'm going to do that on the side. Ca is from group 2. So, whoops. Ca on the periodic table is from group 2. Right? If you could see it, Ca is group 2. So, calcium has a positive 2 charge. And then sulfide has a negative 2 charge. Okay? So, if I do the crisscross method, first I'll get Ca2S2 if I do that crisscross method. But do I write my formula like this if it's ionic, Ca2S2? No, I want to simplify this as just CaS solid. And now I have to balance the chemical equation. I'm going to help you out. Let's say we represent calcium as a shaded circle, and this sulfur, let's represent sulfur as, sorry, calcium is unshaded. Let's represent sulfur as a shaded circle, but how many of those shaded circles are connected if it's S8? Should be 8 of them, and I'm going to draw them like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and if I want to draw calcium sulfide on the right side, I'll have one of these and one of these. So I'm going to leave it up to you to balance this chemical equation, and that's what you're going to be doing for the rest of class. And then you'll see, I may have already handed this out to you, you're going to have another practice set that will be due, and this will be worth 10 points. So if you finish this, you could begin this, because this is what we're going to be doing tomorrow. This is the other practice set that will be worth 10 points. In this practice set, it says balance all of the given chemical equations, placing coefficients in front of each reactant and product that helps balance the chemical equation. Remember, we do not balance equations with subscripts. Then write the word equation that goes along with the balanced chemical equation. So we're going backwards here. If I give you the chemical equation, I want you to balance it, and then I want you to write the word equation. So for example, I balanced this equation for you. 2H2 plus 1O2 gave me 2H2O. This was hydrogen reacts with oxygen to produce or make water. That's what I want you to do for this side. Then on the back side, and we'll do this more in class tomorrow, this is also worth 10 points. So that altogether, practice set 2 and 3 are 20 points. This, I give you the sentence, and I want you to do exactly what I showed you in your notes here, and that's write the chemical equation from the word equation and then balance it. Okay? All right. So, I'm going to leave you on your own now. Make sure that you get all of these notes. I'll probably try and zoom away. So, let's say, I'll probably take a picture. If you did not get a chance to copy all these notes, they're all right here. And remember, tomorrow when you walk in, I'm going to grade that you did these notes and started this practice set. So make sure that you have these notes down. I'll stamp it, and that'll be worth 10 points. All right, so I'll leave this up for a little bit. Word equation. Make sure you've copied these notes. All right, and here's the bottom part if you need that. And I'm sure whoever's here could pause so you could copy the rest of this. And again, tomorrow when you walk in, I'm going to grade and check these notes. If you do not have them, tell your friends. If they do not have them, it's going to be a 0. So make sure you get those notes. And I hope to see you all tomorrow. Have a great rest of the day.